Hello and welcome back to Like Maria. Today we're looking at Shelley's poem Ozymandias, and we're looking particularly at the technique and effects. So today, after this session, you'll be able to read Ozymandias just like Maria. So one of the key things about this poem is there are three voices. The voice of the poet Shelley in the first line, then the voice of the traveller who tells the story, and the voice of Ozymandias himself on the pedestal. I'm going to talk now about the middle voice there, the traveller. So we listen to the traveller just as Shelley listened to the traveller. One of the interesting things about this traveller's voice and the technique that Shelley uses here is that he uses verbs in the present tense. So verbs such as stand, lies, stretch, remain. They're all in the present tense, and it makes it a very present experience for us, as if we are in the shoes of the traveller, actually watching and seeing what is there in the desert. So we actually see Ozymandias, the statue, lying there just as the traveller does. One of the other techniques that Shelley uses to present this king to us is that he makes the lines when Ozymandias is speaking to us. My name is Ozymandias, that's lines 10 and 11 of this poem. He makes them start with a strongly stressed syllable. If you look at the other lines of the poem, they start on a very weak stress. But here we have the words my and look, and those two words introduce this strong voice of command, this strong, arrogant, boastful nature of the king. And the fact that they are both monosyllables really emphasises Ozymandias' words. Look is also an imperative verb which stresses the command in this voice. And that line, look, ends with another imperative verb, despair. So the voice of the king is coming over loud and strong, stressed in the middle of this poem with these two imperative verbs. Another technique that Shelley uses in order to make us think about this king and his disappeared kingdom is the rhyme scheme in this poem. Normally a sonnet has an alternating rhyme scheme or a very rigid rhyme scheme, depending on whether it's Petrarchan or Shakespearean. This to me seems like a Shakespearean sonnet with an attempt at an alternating rhyme scheme, but Shelley has stopped short of making it an A-B, A-B, A-B rhyme scheme. He starts off with words such as land and sand, but then throws in some half rhymes such as stone and frown. And I would suggest that this disruption to the rhyme scheme makes us think about a broken king and a decayed kingdom. And that's what Shelley is trying to achieve here. At the end of a sonnet, typically an alternating rhyme sonnet, we would have closure with a rhyming couplet. And here we don't have anything. Instead, we have the decay and despair rhyme scheme. So we have despair, decay, bear away. And this continues the alternating rhyme scheme instead of being a rhyming couplet that sews up the sonnet. And this has two functions here. I think it suggests that unlike a beautiful person, this king is broken and forgotten, so the sonnet isn't complete in remembrance of him. But also the alternating rhyme continues just like the vast desert sands continue. Another feature that Shelley uses here is alliteration, and he uses this quite widely in the poem. I'm going to talk about two examples. One is the words cold, command, decay, colossal and wreck. All those words rhyme on that hard C sound, some of them at the start of the word and wreck at the end. And that cold command comes out there with these harsh consonant sounds that really suggest a powerful and unpleasant king. So his unpleasantness is stressed by the alliteration. I would also suggest that it's stressed by the contrast to the much more leisurely, pleasant alliteration combined with the open vowels of the last lines of the poem. That's boundless, bare, lone and level. So the colossal king, the wreck, the cold command are contrasted by this openness and vastness of the desert, which still exists and is there in all its enormity, unlike the king who is broken. The last point I want to make is that very last couple of lines and how they show the brokenness of the king and the passing of his kingdom. We have nothing beside remains. That's a 3-word sentence with a stop in the middle of the line that we know technically as a caesura. Now that stop comes just after the word remains, which shows that there's a stop, there's an end to what the king and his kingdom once were. There's also a pun on that word remains. Nothing remains as in exists afterwards, but also the remains of somebody we talk about when they're dead. And nothing remains, it's nothing, there is no real remnant of this king apart from the remains of this statue. I think this is also contrasted by the lengthy section that comes after this. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. And again, the lengthiness of that quotation, the leisurely pace, suggest enormous expanse of sands and an enormous expanse of time. And that time has distanced us from this cruel king. So there you have some useful techniques that you can put into your essay on Ozymandias and look at the effects of how Shelley has constructed this poem. So I hope that today you can write an essay about Ozymandias just like Maria.